Porfa, Frank, con la siguiente. Vamos con la siguiente. Ahora, como saben, vamos a tener a dos personas conversando conmigo hoy día. Una de las presentaciones va a ser 100% en inglés, pero no se preocupen porque tenemos traducción en vivo. Quiero que me pongan un puntito en el chat si es que han usado la traducción en vivo antes en Zoom, solamente para ver cuántas personas ya han utilizado. Bueno, para los que ya han utilizado ya saben cómo funciona. Para los que no han utilizado la traducción en vivo, lo vamos a probar muy rápidamente. Entonces, voy a empezar a hablar en inglés en breves y ustedes lo que van a hacer es que van a hacer clic abajo en su Zoom donde dice interpretación y van a elegir la opción de traducir a castellano. En el caso que quieren traducirlo al revés, escogen inglés. Así que voy a darles unos segundos para que puedan hacer la prueba y Elena, que es nuestra traductora, voy a comenzar a hablar en castellano, en inglés en breves. So I'm going to start speaking in English so we can just quickly try the live translation. I can see Diego smiling. I don't know if it means if it's working or you're just having fun with the situation. As soon as you guys can hear me in Spanish in the live translation, I'm going to ask you to just put in the chat. I hope, Carlos, that means that it's working. If it's working, please tell me, and then we'll continue. I'll go back to Spanish in a second, but we know it works. Perfect, it works. So let's continue. Voy a regresar a castellano. Por favor, Frank, en la siguiente. Cuando empezamos la parte en inglés, ya saben exactamente lo que tienen que hacer para poder llevar la traducción en vivo a castellano. Ahora, en Colectivo 23, nosotros somos una escuela para profesionales que quieren realmente transformar sus carreras en temas digitales. Nos encanta hacer eventos, nos encanta compartir conocimiento y algo que es muy importante es que les invito a que prendan su cámara, mírenme a mí, estoy ahorita en un celular, si es que están en el celular sin vergüenza lo pueden prender porque así estoy yo ahorita. Por favor, interactúen mucho en el chat. Tanto yo como mi equipo, como Volker, como Lucía, están leyendo el chat, entonces estamos súper ahí atentos a lo que está sucediendo y pueden hacer preguntas durante la presentación. Otra cosa, mira, yo sé que están ahí trabajando, veo a Mariana, te veo un poco en un lugar de oficina, ahí te vi. Aprovechen que estén acá, aprovechen que estén escuchando, dejen el celular, dejen el trabajo de lado, realmente aprovechen para llevarse el mayor conocimiento posible. Así que eso es, por favor cambien sus nombres, si es que tienen un nombre medio raro ahí de iPhone 1, 2, 3 o lo que sea, para que sepamos quiénes son. Y Frank, me ayudas con la siguiente. Ok, vamos a rápidamente hacer un rompehielo con la siguiente, por favor, Frank. Y van a tener 30 segundos ahorita en el chat. Me imagino que la gran mayoría de ustedes en algún momento han pasado por el aeropuerto. ¿Qué es algo que ustedes harían en la experiencia de pasar por un aeropuerto que cambiarían, que creen que mejoraría la experiencia del aeropuerto? Tienen 30 segundos, acá tengo un cronómetro súper bien diseñado en mi celular para poder leerlo. Las maletas, eliminar los pasaportes, Lucía. Bueno, hay que ver cómo nos ponemos de acuerdo a eso. Eliminar colas, perfecto. Documentación de las maletas, entrega maletas, la espera, veo mucho de colas, espera, la revisión, efectivamente. Hay unos países, además, no sé si alguien, o sea, antes me acuerdo que en Perú existía un botón que tienes que apretar, rojo, verde, si es rojo, uy, tienes que ir y te abren la maleta. Ok, veo que esto es un tema un poco caliente. No more shopping malls. Volker, yo soy lo opuesto. A mí me encanta ir de shopping cuando estoy en el aeropuerto, así que creo que depende también de las personas. Ok, vamos a la siguiente, por favor, Frank. Gracias por sus comentarios. No trabajo en el aeropuerto, así que no hay mucho que les puedo hacer. Team Shopping, Diego. Yo ahorita les cuento que estoy en Singapur. De hecho, como les comenté, son las 2 de la mañana para mí. Y una de las cosas que me alucinó cuando llegué fue el aeropuerto. Y el primer día que llegué a Singapur nos hicieron una presentación, algunos diseñadores, de hecho, que incluyen diseñadores de servicio, y nos contó que el aeropuerto de Singapur ha sido diseñado justamente para tener la mejor experiencia de servicio posible. Entonces, les voy a dar dos ejemplos muy pequeños, solamente para que se lleven una idea. Uno es que se dieron cuenta que muchas personas pasaban por Singapur, no por ir a Singapur, sino porque era un buen hub para ir de un país a otro, ¿no? Entonces era un buen puente entre Europa y otros países de Asia, y la verdad es que la gente ni siquiera salía al aeropuerto. Entonces, ¿qué sucede en el aeropuerto? Hay un terminal donde hay una cascada de agua espectacular, un shopping mall inmenso. De hecho, Volker, no sé si eres muy fan del aeropuerto de Singapur, pero básicamente se dieron cuenta que el aeropuerto era una oportunidad para armar una experiencia, para presentar Singapur a los posibles visitantes del país, por más que ni siquiera iban a salir del aeropuerto y estaban solamente en tránsito. Vas a la siguiente, been there once, dice Volker. Vamos a la siguiente. Lo siguiente es, varias personas le dijeron las colas, migraciones, pasaportes, dijo Lucía, ya no quiere más pasaportes. Eh, la experiencia del aeropuerto de Singapur ha sido diseñado para que en 15 minutos máximo, desde que saliste de tu avión, no importa en qué terminal es, ya estés afuera con tu maleta en mano. 15 minutos. Y obviamente lo tienen súper cronometrado. Y todo eso ha sido diseñado así a la exactitud. Así que les dejo ahí una inspiración y cosas que yo he visto. Estuve ahí hace 2 días, alucinante. Estoy alucinada con este país. Realmente creo que es la ciudad país del futuro. Pero mira cómo cuando las cosas se diseñan pensando en realmente cómo mejorar la experiencia de las personas, puedes lograr, o sea, resolver un dolor tan sencillo como, oye, pasas muy rápido en el aeropuerto y no tienes que esperar. Siguiente, por favor, Frank. Así que nada, con eso ya hago la introducción. Les presento a Volker Roos. Él es el Executive Design Director en Europa, en IDEO Europa. Él ahorita está en Berlín, está en Alemania, y la verdad es que estoy súper contenta de contar con Volker hoy día con nosotros. Nos va a contar su perspectiva de qué exactamente es el diseño de servicio, el service design como lo conocemos. La verdad es que les toca una muy buena práctica del lado de Worker. Y además está Lucía Valencia Dongo, que también trabaja en IDEO, es Senior Design Lead en IDEO actualmente. Y voy a contar un poquito más de Lucía más adelante, porque Lucía también fue parte del equipo fundador de Colectivo 23. Así que, ¿me puedes ayudar yendo a la siguiente, Frank? Entonces, básicamente, así se ve la agenda. Vamos a empezar con Volker, que nos va a contar exactamente qué es Service Design. Va a ser una charla de más o menos unos 25 minutos. Vamos a tener las preguntas al final. Luego, Lucía nos va a contar sobre el caso de Colectivo 23 como un caso de Service Design. Algo que no sé si muchas personas saben, pero Colectivo, como una empresa de educación, nació a través de una metodología de diseño. Y es muy raro en el mundo de educación, se los digo porque yo he visto muchos modelos, mirar la educación a través de lentes de diseño, o sea, algo que recientemente se está viendo. Así que Lucía nos va a dar todos los insights y las cosas de cómo fueron al inicio. Y luego al final les voy a introducir el nuevo programa de Service Design que estamos lanzando en colaboración con IDEO. Como les dije, creo que no hay nada más orgulloso para mí, para el equipo, de poder celebrar nuestros 3 años de aniversario de haber pasado al formato virtual con un lanzamiento y además con estas 2 personas que nos acompañan. Así que con eso, Volker, te voy a pasar a ti. Creo que por el tema tecnológico vamos a tener que pedirte que tú eh, compartes pantalla, porque yo ya no puedo estar compartiendo pantalla, pero mientras que hacemos eso, voy a pedir que me pongan un puntito en el chat si es que siguen conmigo aún. Estamos todavía presentes. Me encanta. Veo que varias personas han ido a Singapur. La verdad es que esta es mi primera vez acá y me ha quedado corto el tiempo, totalmente. So I'm going to start switching to English so we can start switching the translation to English. Volker, I know you're presenting. Thank you so much for the last minute technological switch. Very flexible on your side. So Volker, I'm going to leave it over to you so you can tell us a little bit about what you think service design is. And I know you have a great presentation for us. And thank you. I leave it over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina. Good afternoon, evening, morning, everyone, no matter where you are sitting right now. Hello from Munich, Germany. I'm Volker. I'm a little bit sick today. If I cough a lot, apologies for that. I try to keep it out of the way, and hopefully the translation services will make that disappear completely for you. So before I go in this talk here, I'd like to inspire you today. So regardless if you already identify or see yourself as a designer or not, I want to spark, some interest and maybe passion for this topic, for design in general, human-centered design and service design. So if you think that's maybe something for you, sign up to the route with Colectivo 23. It's going to be an amazing program. And so that's really my intent today. I try to bridge it without being too academic, but tell a few stories from what it means to work in this field and work in service design and work inside an agency such as the one that both Lucia and myself work with, which is called IDEO. You've seen the name around. So there we go. Team, if I'm going over time, give me a fair warning. You know the number of slides. Don't be shy. Ping me. I try to keep an eye on the chat here or there, talking and managing the presentation at the same time.
I'll let you know, Volker. Don't worry.
Okay. I had a discussion with a friend who was also a designer, and we talked about service design. And we said, when was the last time you thought to yourself, that was a great service design? And we both realized that probably does not happen. This is not how people think. Instead, you rather think, this was a great service. That's something that you say, but we don't talk about the design per se, but the service was great. Maybe we think those people were nice. They were nice to us. Or this was easy. The process going through those gates that we've just seen at the airport, super simple. Or I got what I wanted. I had a problem and it was solved and I could achieve what I was going out for. Which bears the big question, what is service design? What is that? And I'm going to quote Lou Dawn, who wrote a book on good service. I can recommend this. A service is something that helps someone to do something. As simple as that. So I think I like this definition quite well. That's why I used it here. And I think this is hits the hammer on the head quite well. If you think of the opposite, we can tell quite intuitively when a service is not great. We can feel it because it might be stiff, there might be many rules, maybe people are not nice to us, they're unfriendly behaviors, condescending, tons of barriers from language or access to information. So today I love the translation service, no barriers there, complicated processes, steps that are unclear, you're lost, you don't have the guidelines on the floor. It feels that it's beneficial to the company, to the provider, but not for myself or to the customer, not to the client. And actually me as a paying customer or as a client, I'm asked to do all the work. That doesn't seem right. So obviously the opposite of that, we can tell when the service is great. In contrast, when it feels flexible, when people are friendly, when things, information, products, whatever are accessible, when it's simple, when it's centric about our needs or the customer's needs, when it's easy overall. That's something that we as consumers, I want to call us, can tell very, very quickly. So a little bit about myself. This is me as a young chap. Good hair. Hair has changed. I studied product design. So actually, I would not even call myself a product designer, but I went back through my portfolio over the years. And I realized, actually, I did service design right from the start. One of the projects during student times was designing a train station for public transport. We built a full mock-up, and this is everything from how do you know where you're going, how do you get the ticket, and so forth. Those are service design moments. I'm part of IDEO. Please check out our website if you haven't done already. There could be some interesting case studies on them. Of course, a lot of case studies from Intercorp which is the mother company of Colectivo. My career spanned a few years and quite a few continents. I have lived and worked in the US. I started working at IDEO in Chicago. My home base has been Munich for many, many years. And the last 4.5 years I spent in Dubai working with the likes of Lucia and others, embedding design in the government and building a design studio together there. And over the years, I've as I said, I've worked on a few service design projects, anything from financial services with a big client in Switzerland to designing a better service experience for long-haul flights with Lufthansa, the German air carrier, to working with Michelin, the tire manufacturer around the world, Thailand and so forth, about service moments for cars and mechanical services around the car. And I'd like to ask, actually, in the chat here, we've seen a few good services from Singapore already today. What is a good service that you know of and that you feel works well for you? And I would like to ask you to quickly type it in the chat. So which kind of services have you seen or experienced that are great? Nice, coming along. I'm reading as we go. Starbucks on Christmas. Okay, I want to know more about that.
So Volker, just so you know, New and You is a fintech bank of Latin America. Yes.
Great, cool. Yeah, it's a good Albert Heijn. That's a store, right? Yeah, nice list. It's really coming together nicely. So yeah, like once we think about the topic, there's actually a lot of things that we have experienced as consumers and know of as great examples of services. And of course, I picked similar ones. Apple, the Genius Bar is something where, wow, that's a really good service. I have a problem. I don't understand the product. I might struggle with installing something. I can go there and someone helps me. I did a Google search. Natura seems to also have a good service around the globe as a nice brand. Or Amazon, of course, is a classic who really pushed the idea of service and built the entire organization around their service, which is, of course, one of the big names in service design as a great example. So here's another explanation what that really is, and I think this is a picture from Emirates Airlines. I also checked who does well these days. And so this shows really nicely how service design is made up and what the elements are. On the one side, you have the customer, the family traveling here. You have the service provider, which is the flight attendants here. And on top of that, you can even go further and go into the product, which is the ticket, the food, the in-flight experience and so forth. And those things work really, really nicely to make one whole. And that is really good service design. So what is then, okay, sorry, that's, there you go. That was good service. But what is service design? So if a service is something that helps someone do something, then service design is really applying design and creativity to getting those things done in the best possible way. That's that. As a designer, I can apply my skills, I can apply my mindsets to something and create something out of it. And that is the service that we're creating. We can also think of service design as a task taken care of, most often in exchange for something. That could be money, or that could be data, or it could be information. It doesn't have to be money, but often that's the case. It's a problem that's solved for a client, a customer. And it very much is an interface between companies and customers. There is something about relationships between companies. And that's why, in terms of building brands, service design is really, really a great way to use and build brand equity and do something great about it. And of course, there's no service design without a journey. I don't know of how many of the 200 plus people in here have worked with journeys. It's an instrument that is quite useful in design and creativity. And I will explain it a little bit here next. So a journey is really illustrating the steps of a process. And there's, if you Google it, if you search, there's many, many ways of looking at it. But there's roughly those 5 steps that are repeating themselves. It's about awareness, knowing this company exists. It's about, should I go for them or the other ones? It's about, okay, yes, it's that this company is the right company for me. It's using then the offering, the product, or going through the service experience, and in the best case, being an advocate and saying, this was great, you should do this, Lucia, next time you're there, go there and fly through Singapore. So I'm going to use an example of Ikea just to illustrate what's happening here. It's quite interesting. So on the awareness amount, so this could be anything, advertising in the public place. You know, they did this box here, I think it was in Brooklyn, New York. I don't know. Then we go online, we check out the products. This could be a completely different touch point with our phones. Then we decide on the product that we want. We put it in a shopping cart. We hopefully bring it home and put it up, and it looks nice in our homes, and it's quite nice. And in the best case, we write reviews. We become advocates of this going forward. But here in the use, if you look at the use part, you know, there's this thing about, okay, well, we actually have to put it up, and we have to put this thing together. And I don't know if you have experience with IKEA or other things, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not always that easy. And IKEA was really good at understanding that and creating a service around that with TaskRabbit. So they really understood there's this moment that comes right before the actual use case that there's friction, there's something that doesn't work. There's a moment that matters for consumers that needs to be addressed and needs to be changed, because they cannot do something. And so IKEA did something about it. It's very simple. Sometimes you can look at just those journey steps and say, was I happy? Was it easy? Were there friction? Or was it really bad? And you know, it didn't work. And then you can map this out. In this case with the IKEA shelf, you know, the blue line kind of stays on the, yeah, it's all right, you know, line above the in the positive, but it dips down in the moment where actually the assembly is happening and right before the use. And then, you know, we can as designers, we can mark this and say, well, actually there's something that needs to be addressed. And that's also a business opportunity, right? So if you have a new offering and there's something that your competition or someone else in the market does really, really bad in a certain moment and they're not doing anything about it, that's your opportunity to come in and to innovate and to do something about it, so that in the end, your line, your yellow line, always points up and it doesn't go into the negative space. So those with the hashed lines, we call them moments that matter. You know, this is something that needs to be addressed, and design and creativity are the right tools to do this. You can even go further, and I don't want to go into too much depth in here, but you can look at it at the journey. What is happening? What are the action points? What are the activities? As I said, where is the friction? What are the pain points that you can address with gain points? So you dissolve that problem. And then you can look at the different touch points, the touch points between the company, the offering, and the clients and the customers. Just the illustration, and that, of course, runs across. So in the work, those journeys filled out can have many different phases. It doesn't matter. All it needs to show is show the world and see where the opportunities for change are. Sometimes they can look like this, or they can look a little bit more like that, where you really have the steps and the moments and showing the future state of the service around car mechanics, all the way down to the description of the roles of the mechanics. So there are a few ingredients that service design typically is made of, and this is not the full list, but it's roughly the key ingredients here. So it's, as I spoke about, the process, the journey steps, and mostly they're visible journey steps, but there are many hidden journey steps that as an organization you have to figure out in order to do something about it. The touch points, this can be people, this can be channels like a phone or a website. that's a different kind of channel. Then the products themselves and the offerings, the thing that you're doing, be that flying someone around the globe or delivering them new socks through Amazon. And then tech and data, all the enablers in the background, IT systems, customer relation management systems, commerce platforms, and so forth. And the sum of it, that if you orchestrate this really well, like a conductor, in the end, you have a good, great service in the end coming up. There's another model that you can think about, and this is the back of house and the front of house model. So the back of house is everything internally. This is within your organization, all the systems that have to be orchestrated. And the front of house is client facing, is the outwards facing part. That's what we as consumers are experiencing when we see that. And so it all comes together, the processes. How does money flow? What is the business model? Where are the roles with staff and how they work in space or not? What kind of logistics systems do we have? Do we have factories? How are goods moving from one place to another? So that the front of house, the website, the digital touch points, the staff, the service then itself in a store comes to life, all the way to the package and the product that we receive when we're at home and we get this beautiful package. So as designers and as maybe novices or experts, here's a question: how do you get started? By the way, is there anything in the chat that I should consider? Are we good in time? Is there anything that
We're good on time, Volker. And I was about to say, please go ahead and start leaving questions in the chat. We'll be doing questions at the end, but I imagine there are a lot of things that people are starting to wonder, but we're okay with time. We have around 10 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. So where do we start? And of course, we start with people. So as IDEO, we've coined the term design thinking, and this is what we do. I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with this, but it's about orchestrating what people need and the business needs and technology requirements and what's possible and what makes sense, bringing this together. But it's important where we start, and we start with understanding people and understanding what matters to them most. So as designers and as creators, we always go out. We always talk to people, and this is really important. Go to their homes, go to their workplace, go drive along with them, go shopping with them, doesn't matter. But understand where the thing that you think the opportunity is, the new thing that you're creating, where you're innovating, you understand the context and the use cases so that you really understand where those problems might be, the unmet needs, motivations that you can address. Have a good understanding of your customers. Think about segmentations and how you market them and who is important to you for which kind of reason. And then you can start, mapping out your own journey in those moments that matter. And this can be very, very simple. Here's Nikki with Post-its, and it's really hand sketches. It's very, very rough, but you get a sense of it. Or some scenarios. These are use journeys, future facing, but it's just hand sketches. Doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't matter, but it gets you as a team and as an organization, as a brand, it gets you grip about what you want to do. And then as you go, you can refine it and put more beef to the bone as you go and be very descriptive. And you can prototype a lot. So here is a prototype for the airline that I mentioned. We built a very short cabin, one-to-one. We had the real seat and we had staff there, and we just tried it out. And how do you actually serve hot meal in 10 kilometers in a new way? That's something that you can try out, or you can go even further and then have the entire deck of an airplane in a bigger hangar and then try out the service that you just created. But this idea of prototyping in order to learn and to see what works and what doesn't, and where you maybe hit the mark or miss the mark in terms of what you're actually trying to do, it helps really well. And then all the different touch points, prototyping the digital interfaces, testing it with users, going out again, collecting feedback is very important. Thinking about your backend systems, how do you communicate with your clients? what are the physical assets that you might have that all together create a new experience and create a new service offering for your company. Collect feedback, really, really important. And it can be very simple on this one side of the spectrum. You can put up a bulletin board or a blackboard somewhere and see how people are responding, or in the streets, those things that you tear off when someone lost their cat. Or you can go digital and address way more people, creating meta ads across different channels and see how different segments respond to that. This is about, again, collecting feedback, understanding, am I onto something? Is this a actual something? Is this a problem that we're solving? And yes, for how do we prioritize next steps? Retail is very interesting. This is, that's actually in Singapore. So this is for Western Union. We tried new service experiences, and we had this amazing idea, and we thought we put a big poster up there and start here, and everyone sees the iPad there as a new kiosk, and no one cared. So it completely failed. Or we put this digital kiosk there, but people really had learned over years where the paper is to fill it out. And but this was an amazing learning that we could understand, okay, if we change something in the retail space, we have to be much more dramatic in order to change something. Here's me prototyping in China, something. I don't speak Chinese, but doesn't matter, body language. And we got it done so that we could create a new environment for this branch here. So overall, you can get from a bit more refined, you have an understanding of your spatial setup, you have an understanding of the moments that you want to create, and you can go into creating renderings of it, and eventually, that's the build thing. It's a very clear path at a certain point once you know what you're doing. So not all journey moments are created equal, that's okay. So, but as soon as you have a good understanding of what's most important, what's most fruitful, where you can be differentiated with what you're doing, then go into those moments. And this is where good service moments lie, and they're mostly probably in the moments of consideration towards use, where something interesting happens. But it's okay that you don't have to tick all the boxes along the way, but be very deliberate about where you want to double down to and create something new. So think about what's serviceable. So what are the moments that are important and can be turned into something that are useful and help someone do something. So last section is the question, why does service design matter? On the one side, it makes people happy. Here's me smiling. It's a good thing. I think we all want to live in a world that's more enjoyable and better. So I'm always happy if it's good, if it's great, and if it's just a good service. But there are also business benefits to good service, of course, and they can be a new revenue stream, revenue generation beyond your core offering. That's a good opportunity. Maybe there's something that customers are paying on top of what your core offer might be, or maybe that turns into the core offer and you have other enablers that they can sell in addition to it. Brand building or brand strengthening. This is something where the power of service comes into play. Never miss a crisis as an organization. If there's something goes wrong, keep those relationships up and use it to your benefit and build your brand around it. Because it's a direct way to interact with your clients. Mostly it's sort of it has a human touch that is really, really great. And if you have an open ear and if you're curious and invite feedback in, then you learn so much more, and that can be useful in return then for yourself and your organization, and of course for the service. And it's a fairly low investment to get going. You don't need to manufacture anything. You don't have to produce something. You don't have capital costs to set up a completely new line, because all you need is a good idea and someone who can then help you deliver it and help someone else do something with it. So I was asked to think about what might be the future of great service. and service design. And I'd love to turn this to you as well, and please think about this as well as we go in the last section here. Here's a futuring model that we like to use, and it looks at different time horizons. The now is tomorrow, near could be fall or early next year, far is the future. It does not really matter, but that's one of the mental models, and there's different cones that you can see. So I start with the biggest one. So there's this possible futures. This includes all the things that might happen, but it's a big aperture, and it's a very broad cone that's kind of unpredictable in a way. And then there's the probable futures. The Earth will still be around next year. We still have countries and so forth. It rains and it doesn't. Those are probable futures. Then the second tallest is the plausible futures. That's the second tallest cone. This is where it starts to get a little bit narrower. But the important and the most interesting one is the preferred futures. This is where us as people and as creatives and designers and entrepreneurs can think about what kind of future would we actually prefer, and where do we think the journey should be heading towards. And so this is an invitation to you all to create your future and the future of your organization, be that with great service or products and other offerings. It doesn't matter, but think about where you want to head as an individual, as an owner, as a company, as a colleague, as a designer, as an organization, and create your own preferred future. So for me, a few thoughts just to close it off. I was thinking a lot about this idea of speed. Because with Amazon and the likes, we were so psyched when they could ship the next day or same day and so forth. And I wonder, do we need that speed actually? And what's the best flight around from here to Lima? Do I go for best deal, or do I go for fastest or the cheapest? What is good for that? So the question that I have is, how can a slow service be a great service? Does everything have to be super fast, or slow food can be quite enjoyable? So that's actually a good idea, going to Lima and then having amazing food, of course. Or another thought that I'm having is with a lot of service providers who are, the backbone of it. And I ask myself, who pays the true cost of all our own conveniences and our own services? And how can service be more ethical? Food industry, frontline workers, those people who really take a big hit and carry a big burden and are not compensated fairly or not treated fairly. So how can we change that? And connected, and last but not least, is the question around environmental issues and this topic of climate era considerations. Does everything need to be done in the way it's done right now? And is this also ethical? Should we do this? How can service will respond to the climate era in a positive way? So just some personal thoughts around the future of it. I don't have the answer, but this is something that's quite personally on my mind when we think about those elements. Yeah, so I think this is my last slide here. So I'm checking in the chat if there are more questions. I think we'll have Q&A after the next section, right, Christina? So,
yes, we'll have Q&A in the next section. Thank you so much, Volker. I think it was really interesting, and I think there are a lot of people in the event who already have some experience with service design, but I think there are also several people who it's the first time they're hearing about service design and listening a little bit more. One of the things that I really like about service design is that it's almost a way to kind of build the relationship with your client, as you said, right? It's a way to connect with your client. Yeah. I think today, many of the clients, of the consumers, are expecting companies to become services, even when they sell products. So they're not just measuring the water bottle that you're selling them. They're measuring how they purchased it, how it arrived, what happened when it didn't arrive, etc. And honestly, there's this concept that we say in Spanish, which everything is serviceable, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all models are now serviceable. And one of the things that I want people who are listening to us to take away is that no matter what company, what organization you're in, you need
You
to
need
start
to think
thinking
about
about
it.
the
Yeah.
service. Exactly.
It's
It
table
doesn't matter
stakes
what you're
these
selling.
days.
Exactly, definitely. So I'm gonna encourage people to leave a few more questions in the chat. Please feel free to leave questions as well in Spanish, because we'll be able to translate them very easily. I'm gonna quickly jump over to Lucia. I'm gonna jump back to Spanish. So Volker, feel free to put in the live translation so that you can follow us. So Lucía, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos y estar acá conmigo. Además, ya son creo que tus 9 de la noche. Les quiero contar un poquito por qué le pedí a Lucía que se sume. En verdad, dos cosas. Uno, Lucía y Volker trabajan bastante de la mano, entonces son dos personas que, especialmente a la hora que vamos a las preguntas, tienen buen conocimiento sobre el diseño de servicio y están muy alineados en la forma que IDEO ve el diseño de servicio, que ya veo muchas curiosidades en el chat. Pero algo que sí les quería contar es que Lucía además hace 4 años, de hecho, fue parte del equipo fundador de lo que fue el piloto de Colectivo 23 hace mucho tiempo. Y algo que yo no entendí cuando yo me sumé en Colectivo 23 en el 2019 es que Colectivo 23 se diseñó como un servicio. Y eso es bastante raro en el mundo de educación. Y quiero que solamente hagan una reflexión, no pongan nada en puntito en el chat, por favor, para no perder las preguntas, pero hagan una reflexión de cuántas experiencias de educación pueden haber tenido, donde en verdad la experiencia está más enfocado en un profesor, el contenido y un delivery de educación bastante tradicional. Y cuando yo me sumo a Colectivo 23, me sumo con Lucía liderando un equipo de diseñadores que básicamente habían tomado una mirada muy distinta a lo que es la educación. Así que Lucía, muchísimas gracias por acompañarme. Así que nada, quiero arrancar haciéndote una primera pregunta, que es ¿cómo nace Colectivo 23? Cuéntanos muy rápidamente cómo así Colectivo 23 nace como esta empresa de upskilling y reskilling en Latinoamérica.
Claro, muchas gracias Cris por invitarme. Realmente estoy súper emocionada porque efectivamente contar los inicios y un poco las historias de guerra y lo que hicimos y aprendimos para poder diseñar colectivo es súper emocionante. Pero bueno, ¿cómo empezó? Esto era más o menos el 2017-2018. Yo trabajaba en Intercorp y estábamos haciendo la transformación digital de todo el conglomerado. Y como parte de ese proceso de transformación nos dimos cuenta que uno de los principales cuellos de botella que teníamos, por no decir el más importante, era la escasez de talento con los mindsets y los skills adecuados para ser parte de este proceso de transformación. Y a todo nivel, ¿no? Desde los ejecutivos más altos hasta la ausencia de coders, diseñadores y de cualquier persona de la compañía que tenía que tener los mindsets de la era digital. Y además, rápidamente nos dimos cuenta que este no era un problema solo de nosotros, sino tampoco era un problema del Perú, era un problema global, y Latinoamérica era el continente que estaba peor parado, ¿no? La brecha de talento en Latinoamérica solo se agrandaba, y de hecho nunca me olvidaré una cifra que en el 2019, 500.000 puestos a tiempo completo no iban a poder ser cubiertos porque no había personas con el talento adecuado para hacerlo. Entonces, con ese gran reto de cómo podemos crear algo para solucionar este gran problema, este problema de la brecha de talento digital en América Latina, nos juntamos 4 diseñadoras a ver qué podíamos hacer. Y por supuesto que habían muchos posibles caminos, ¿no? O sea, podíamos pensar en una agencia de talento, una escuela de coders, una escuela de diseño, formar a los ejecutivos más altos con las herramientas y los mindsets. Pero arrancamos por entender a nuestros usuarios, ¿no? Por entender a nuestros usuarios desde 2 lados. A los que luego llamaríamos pasajeros, o los estudiantes, entender el talento, qué necesitaba, Y por el otro lado, entender a las compañías, ¿no? Por qué las compañías no podían encontrar a ese talento que tanto necesitaban. Y rápidamente nos dimos cuenta que estábamos frente a un abismo donde ambas partes tenían el mismo reto, que era seguir siendo relevantes ante un cambio tan rápido y tan disruptivo que estaba viviendo Latinoamérica o el mundo en general. Y por otro lado, rápidamente nos dimos cuenta que la educación tradicional no estaba ayudando a cerrar esta brecha, ¿no? Por el contrario, la educación tradicional no se movía al ritmo que estaba moviéndose el resto del mundo, y eso nos ponía frente a la idea de tenemos que crear un modelo educativo que sea radicalmente diferente y disruptivo y que esté centrado en el usuario, ¿no? Centrado en el usuario, y ahí podemos hablar después, hay varios usuarios, no solo pensamos en el usuario como el pasajero o el estudiante, sino por ejemplo el experto, el practitioner, también es un usuario, y es un usuario para el que nosotros diseñamos todo un journey, y pensamos en cuáles eran los momentos, como Volker llama, los momentos that matter, o los wow moments, y también la empresa también es un usuario, y también teníamos que pensar cuál era esa ruta, cuál era ese journey para ellos, ¿no? Y si quieren que les cuente un poco del proceso, Chris, esto arrancó por entender las necesidades, también hicimos mucho de proceso de inspiración, viajamos alrededor del mundo para ver cuáles eran los mejores casos y cómo podíamos inspirarnos para traer algo diferente a América Latina, y luego arrancó el proceso de diseño, de mucho prueba y error, iteración. Arrancamos con prototipos muy básicos, como páginas web falsas, para probar cuál era la propuesta de valor, qué es lo que estábamos ofreciendo. Luego pasamos a hacer experimentos muy aislados, donde por ejemplo probamos el concepto de los módulos, hasta luego probar toda una ruta completa, ¿no? Y como parte de ese proceso de prueba de la ruta completa, necesitábamos probar el modelo de aprendizaje, la experiencia educativa, que claramente es uno de los componentes más importantes del colectivo, el modelo de negocio, la marca, el espacio físico, que en ese momento jugaba un rol bastante importante, el rol del practitioner, cuál es la propuesta de valor. Había un sinfín de cosas que había que probar, y que en algunos casos lo probamos de forma aislada, con experimentos independientes, y luego decidimos probar todo como un sistema conjunto, porque al final, cuando uno diseña un servicio, estás diseñando un sistema que tiene muchas partes y que tiene que ser coherente entre todas esas partes, ¿no?
Algo que quiero resaltar es que en educación muy pocas veces se diseña pensando en el estudiante, en el docente. Educación, y eso es algo que realmente cada vez lo tengo más claro, es como un servicio que no ha sido cuestionado por 200 años.
Desde la revolución industrial.
Exacto, y el tema es que cuando hablamos de educación de profesionales, o sea, la mayoría de las personas que ahorita están conectados están trabajando o están estudiando a tiempo completo. Y la educación no fue diseñada para personas que están de 9 de la mañana a 6 de la tarde. Veo varias personas en su oficina trabajando, almorzando en sus celulares. Y efectivamente creo que es muy potente que ustedes tomaron ese lente súper centrado en el usuario. Lucy, te voy a hacer una última pregunta porque estamos con el tiempo.
Chris, si quieres
Sí,
que
dale,
resume.
dale.
De hecho, esos fueron los insights principales para el diseño de colectivo, porque nos dimos cuenta que el perfil de pasajero era un pasajero que por supuesto está trabajando. Entonces el modelo se tenía que adecuar a lo que esa persona necesita en el momento en el que lo necesita. Y la mayoría de programas estaban estructurados para lo que el centro educativo quería dar, y no el estudiante. A veces hoy necesitaba un skill muy particular, que lo podía lograr en unas pocas horas, o podía querer un cambio de carrera radical, y eso iba a requerir más tiempo, y lo necesitaba en el momento preciso. Entonces, hacer una experiencia de aprendizaje personalizada, y ahí es donde nacieron la idea de hacer los módulos y las rutas. Entonces los módulos eran upskilling, algo muy particular, y las rutas era pasar por un proceso de transformación, ¿no? Y además, que sea un contenido relevante, que lo puedas poner en práctica en el segundo en el que volvías al trabajo, ¿no? Al día siguiente que habías pasado por un módulo, por una ruta, podías empezar a poner en práctica lo que estabas aprendiendo.
Frank, te voy a pedir que nos lleves a la siguiente lámina, porque Lucía, y si hay algunas personas que pues solamente para aclarar, las rutas son los programas especializados de 5 meses, que es lo que está mencionando Lucía, y los módulos son los pedazos de rutas que son temas específicos. Entonces, la idea inicialmente en colectivo es que tú podías hacer como tu mix and match de el tipo de ruta, y te subías y bajabas. Y algo que Lucía y yo de hecho hemos hablado un montón es que el diseño de servicio, de hecho con Volker también, no es algo estático, es algo que va cambiando en el tiempo. Y tienes que tener ciertos pilares que sí son estáticos, pueden ser los valores de la empresa o los no negociables de cómo entregas tu producto, tu servicio, pero más bien a nivel que vas creciendo, vas escalando o incluso tu mercado va cambiando, el viaje, el journey de tu usuario tiene que cambiar, ¿no? Entonces, muchas cosas que nosotros diseñamos o que el equipo de Lucía diseñó en el inicio, hoy se ven distintos, pero hay muchas cosas que son de esencia que son iguales.
Como
Y al
colectivo
final del
Way.
día, exacto, como el colectivo Way, lo que no cambia es esa centralidad en el usuario. Lucía, como estamos con el tiempo, te voy a pedir que me cuentes quizás 2 cosas que quieres resaltar del viaje, del diseño de colectivo, y con eso ya entramos a las preguntas, que hay muchas preguntas ahí para que los dos estén contestando, algunos candentes del rol de Service Design. Así que cuéntanos si quieres 2 cosas que ustedes diseñaron que para ti eran como que esos moments that matter y que eran bastante importantes a la hora que diseñaron ese journey educativo.
Claro. A ver, justo como Volker decía, nosotros teníamos un journey súper claro para los pasajeros y un journey para los practitioners también. Y no todo tenía que ser wow, pero sí teníamos algunos momentos que nosotros considerábamos iban a ser como íconos en colectivo. Y de hecho, una de las cosas que me acuerdo es, teníamos que probar el modelo de aprendizaje, que de hecho hoy lo siguen usando en colectivo. Y este modelo de aprendizaje incluía el absorber, inspirarte, el probar rápidamente, el compartir y finalmente reflexionar. Porque teníamos la hipótesis y creíamos firmemente que si los pasajeros no pasaban por un momento de reflexión luego del aprendizaje diario, ¿no? O después de cada clase, cada módulo, realmente no podían interiorizar lo que había sucedido. Y queríamos probar que ese sea un momento diferente. Entonces ahí pueden ver la foto donde están los pasajeros sentados en círculo sobre cojines con las formas de colectivo, porque estábamos probando cómo, por ejemplo, el espacio físico jugaba un rol súper importante en este momento de reflexión, ¿no? Y cómo cambiar la configuración del espacio para que cambies el modo en el que estabas, podía acelerar ese proceso de reflexión. Y además estamos testeando por sí mismo que esto sea importante, tener este proceso. Probamos varios formatos. De hecho, en una oportunidad probamos, y creo que esto es algo que se mantiene hasta hoy, que mientras los pasajeros reflexionaban, íbamos haciendo dibujos rápidamente para que a través de los dibujos, y ahí está, justo creo que hay otra foto donde ven los dibujos, se quede grabado en cuáles habían sido los top aprendizajes del día. Esto funcionó tan bien, de hecho, que los convertimos en postales, porque los pasajeros nos pedían que los querían tener en sus escritorios, y creo que hasta el día de hoy ustedes siguen haciendo estos doodles con los aprendizajes. Pero esto iteró, como dice Chris, hoy colectivo no es físico, entonces ya no se sientan en círculo, como acá, pero se mantuvo el mindset, se mantuvo la importancia del proceso de reflexión para aprender, ¿no? Ese fue un momento wow, era un momento que lo habíamos diseñado para que genere mucho impacto en los pasajeros, ¿no? Otras historias que me acuerdo, creo que un momento muy pequeño, pero que era muy, muy importante para nosotros, era el momento en el que pasajero se enteraba que había entrado a colectivo. En ese momento había un proceso de postulación. Y recuerdo que diseñamos por supuesto con toda la marca de colectivo, un boarding pass de que habías ingresado a la ruta. Y lo diseñamos con el objetivo de que sea un momento de satisfacción, de alegría, pero que además lo puedas compartir con tu familia y amigos. Y es exactamente lo que pasó. Inmediatamente los 23 primeros pasajeros y los de las primeras rutas compartían este boarding pass que lo veíamos en todos lados, en todo social media, desde LinkedIn hasta Instagram. Y pueden ser cosas tan pequeñas como esa, pero que generan una experiencia diferente para la persona, para el usuario, ¿no? Y bueno, te puedo contar historias sin fin, miles de cosas que funcionaron y no, pero no sé si tenemos más tiempo, si quieres puedo contar alguna más.
Estamos justo con el tiempo, pero creo que da para una conversación mucho más larga porque hay varias de esas cosas que mencionas que cambiaron en el tiempo y cambiaron por comportamientos de justamente los pasajeros y otras cosas que se quedaron. Pero bueno, vamos a continuar solamente para llegar a las preguntas porque sé que varias de ustedes ya están como que terminando su hora del almuerzo. Así que Frank, ¿me ayudas yendo a la siguiente lámina, por favor? Ahí por ahí
Christina,
vi yes, Volker.
I took notes and I can answer, I can go through the questions.
Perfect.
I think we can answer them all actually.
Okay, perfect. Can you give me 2 minutes? I'm just going to quickly give the program and we'll go to the questions. Entonces, ahí vi en una de las preguntas que alguien dijo, ¿dónde puedo estudiar diseño de servicio? De hecho, nosotros en Colectivo 23 tenemos una alianza de contenido con IDEO. Somos la única organización educativa en toda Latinoamérica que tiene esta alianza. Y básicamente significa que el programa, los programas que tenemos con IDEO, no solamente son validados por ellos, sino además hay intervenciones de IDEOers, como los llamamos, que te dan feedback y se involucran en ciertas partes del programa. Y estoy súper contenta porque estamos lanzando este nuevo programa de Service Design en colaboración con IDEO. Por favor, el siguiente, Frank, que de hecho empieza el primer cohort empieza el 5 de junio, donde básicamente hay un jurado de IDEO que empieza la ruta con un shot de inspiración, contando un caso de Service Design real que se ha hecho, y luego están al final dando el feedback sobre el trabajo de diseño servicio que tienen que hacer a lo largo del programa, y te dan feedback real, o sea, te dan las sugerencias de mejora real para que realmente se lleven de expertos que hacen esto literal para clientes muy grandes, como un aprendizaje. Siguiente, Frank, al toque. Son clases 100% en vivo, metodología 75% práctica, como dijo Lucía. Hay un reto real que tienes que resolver y hacemos bastante trabajo de portafolio y CV. Siguiente, porfa, Frank. Así que nada, ahí sí es que alguien quiere ser parte de esta primera generación de graduados y graduadas en Service Design, pueden hacer pueden escanear el código QR. Y ahí pueden ver, de hablar con un asesor educativo. De hecho, CMI hay cambios, hemos hecho bastantes cambios a esta ruta de Service Design, porque no es la misma que teníamos anteriormente, porque esta ruta es Service Design desde el lente de IDEO, que tiene ciertos módulos y ciertos aspectos que son distintos. Así que ahí, igual lo que te puedo decir es pues, que puedes escanear el QR y puedes hablar ahí con el asesor educativo. Ahí vamos a la siguiente, por favor, Frank. Ahora sí, Volker. I'm going to change back into English. You guys can go back into the translation mode. So Volker, I know you were taking notes. Sorry, I just wanted to quickly explain the program. So I think Volker and Lucia, you both can answer, but I think there are several questions. Volker, do you want to go ahead and attack one question that you found particularly interesting?
What's the time limit? When do you
I think we can do, I mean, we're over the time, so I think we can do 10 minutes because
I do it very quickly. I just keep everyone. I start with Ivan Suarez. Net promoter score could be one of the measures. Customer satisfaction, you know, that's something that's quite good to do. Marina, end users. There is no company without end users. Like no company exists for its own being. So we always have to look at the end users. Laura, what was the question? I have to read it again.
If you can read the question, maybe Volker.
What do you say to clients who don't know the importance of kind of process? Most clients have a vague idea, but that's why they come to IDEO, because they need help. If they could do it internally, they wouldn't need a consultancy to work with them. Nelson, in your experience, what is the relationship between strategic design and service design? It's closely interlinked. You know, the strategy and the service have to match, but the strategy is the guiding, has the guiding principles. That's where the organization is heading towards, and it describes how it's done. And then everything, the offering, be that the service has to match that service.
Would you say, Volker, that almost service design is a way of executing that strategy? It's a way of how you
manifestation. Yeah, you know, it's something that you can, as a customer, feel and understand. Catherine, I believe the health system is a great challenge to improve different services. Any examples? Yeah, absolutely. Years ago, I worked for the Cleveland Clinics on that. Other players in the place do this. If you think of the Mayo Clinic in the US or so, I think they have something around how much time they give to patients and families, which is very important. So big yes to this. For you, Adrian, for you, where does it lay the main difference between service and experience design? You can call them sometimes the same thing. And it's also experience blueprints. That's the same thing as a user journey. It's a different name, but it's very closely linked. Experience design can be also the thing, the product that you drop, or the interface, the intangible things, but they're absolutely closely connected. Adrian, oh no, I did not understand the Spanish. Miguel, what do you think about AI and service design? Do you think service designers will be replaced by AI? Really good question. No one knows what's going to happen next month with AI. It's a very weird field. I do believe that designers not using AI will be replaced by AI. So it's inevitable. We have to deal with it. We have to get on top of it. We have to use it, get inspired by it. It's yeah. There's no way around it. Christina, I see you.
Yeah, no. Today we had a conference about AI, and I think one of the big takeaways is that if you're not using it, you should be using it and understanding it. A lot of positions we're going to need less of, and there's just a lot of opportunity around it. So I would say, like Volker says, there are a lot of things that AI still can't replace. Understanding humans, understanding insights, really interacting with your clients. There still aren't good enough, I would say, platforms, but definitely I think it's something that we're all going to incorporate in the different positions that we have today. So,
and for example, in prototyping, it's amazing. It's an amazing tool. Like before, what could take time so long to design a journey and like look for the right picture to share each moment, so you could ask users to react to it. Now you can do it in minutes with Midjourney and other tools that will help you like make it way more visual or find the right words with ChatGPT. So start using it.
Yeah. Carlos is in the link, if I got your question right. Wales in the UK has a Future Generations Commissioner. You know, they are thinking exactly about the unborn, the people who don't even exist, and what their lives will be. Talia, you will have an amazing superpower, and that's the combination of mind and heart. If I get you right, management senior student, I'd like to start my professional path in service design. What would you recommend to me? Where should I start? Combine it. I think you can have quant and qual. You can have numbers and management and people, and combining that is really, really cool. So yay, this is really, really good. Jennifer, what fields of study does service designers come from? I don't know, all kinds of fields. Like, I think if we, all of us here, open up the channel, we would have probably 50 different answers. Typically, they come from design. I have colleagues who have a psychology background and so forth. So it's very broad. I don't know how you.
There are also a lot of architects that I've seen, Volker, who do the switch to service design. Who go from architecture, at least in Latin America, it's a trend that we've been seeing a lot.
Great. Daniela, I think the question was something, my answer, if I got it correctly, is yes, and it's never finished. I hope that answer matches the question. I translated it somewhere. You're never done with your service experience or your what you do. We always have to adapt. The world continues to change, and you always have to change accordingly and go with it. Then Monica, Martin, the question was, how does this match with behavioral science? A lot. So as I said, sometimes we work with, or we have psychologists in it, and it's a big field. I'm not the expert in this, but yes, there are big overlaps in here as well. Then I think Monica, if I get it right. Oh no, sorry, I answered Monica's question with the. Oh no, sorry. Okay, now I get it. Okay, I cannot read it, but the question was about, have you worked with local governments? And so yes, the answer is yes. Starting from Singapore, to what we've done in Dubai. To
did you work on the airport, Volker, or not? Or can you
no,
not say
we cannot claim this.
it's
Ministry of
amazing.
Manpower, so would be an example from Singapore.
I just want to stop you there, Volker, to say one thing. I think that in service design, if there are people who want to become service designers or who are service designers, something that I think it was you who told me or someone else from IDEO is that the government is the biggest service provider in any country, right? It is an organization that attends absolutely all the citizens in the country. And the need to design services, I want everyone to think about all the pains they have working with their governments, filing taxes, getting any sort of documentation done. I think the government is like the first one who should be thinking about service design, because we are basically their clients, and yeah, we also pay for those services in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the quote that I made from Lou Dawn is she worked with that's where she worked. And yeah, absolutely. This is the best place. And there's a lot of need. There's a lot of low points and moments that do matter and that are not addressed. Okay, and then I think we had more questions that talk about or ask about the ruta itself.
Yes, so there's several questions about the ruta that I can respond. The ruta is a ruta, Daniela, that is meant to be from zero. We call it from 0 to 100. Definitely, I recommend that you scan the QR code. It will bring you to a WhatsApp, and you can talk to the person there and ask specific questions about the program. But all of our programs from Colectivo are thought of for people who want to start from zero. Saying that, there are several people who already have a little bit of experience in design who still get a lot out of the rutas, because it helps to like sort of refresh the base, and then you end up digging deeper, right? And again, the rutas are not just the content, they're live classes. You're going to meet people from all around Latin America. You're going to meet practitioners from all around Latin America, and you're going to have the live IDEOers who are going to be giving feedback in your ruta. So it's not just the content, remember, it's the sum of all these parts. And like I said, there are a lot of people who already work in design who decided to take our rutas because, one, there's a part that's a good refresher, but two, because you can end up digging deeper, networking, and in the end, it's always good to be being up to date on these skills. But definitely, if you've been working in service design for 5 years, this is probably not the ruta for you, because it is for people who want to begin in service design. There are several questions about, and there I think it was Sandro who was writing, this is a new ruta. So it's not the service design ruta that we had before. This is a new launch of a new course. There are lots of changes, and the certificate is also different. If you want to switch to the new ruta, I think that's something we can talk to our education advisors. So just scan the QR code and we'll be able to attend you through there. So I think a lot of people are signing off, Volker and Lucia. I don't know, Frank, if you can go ahead and take the shared screen off so that we can, sorry, my team asked me for all the Mexicans who have joined. We're gonna be in Mexico City as Colectivo next week, and we have an amazing event with also IDEO. We're gonna be talking about AI. So we have 2 amazing speakers, Michelle Lee Schmidt from IDEO and Lalo Octavio Garces from, actually he's local, he's Mexican. And we're gonna be talking about something that I'm extremely interested in. My team knows me. I'm very careful about jumping on trends, very careful. And AI is something that has blown me away. It's something that's made me uncomfortable, but in a good way. And it's something that today in Colectivo we are using. Yeah, if you're there, if you're in Mexico, please come join us, bring a friend. We're going to be networking. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. And And yeah, I hope to see you there. So Frank, if you can go ahead and take the shared screen off. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And again, thank you for, I'm here on my phone, sort of pivoting last minute. So if we can go ahead and just take a quick picture. Lucia, Volker, thank you so much for joining us. Lucia, I think we need to have another space where we can do like the whole case of Colectivo 23, because I think it's a really good, I mean, other than the fact that I'm obviously a fan of Colectivo as CEO, I think it's a really good example of how to apply service design in education. So I think as just a general case study, there's a lot to share there. And I think we can definitely get that up. And I see people in the chat asking for it as well. So thank you guys. And I hope to see several of you in Mexico City. And we're gonna have several more events, online events coming up. So please join. And Volker, thank you so much. And Lucia, thank you so much as well. And please, if you guys have questions about the program or any doubts, like I said, something actually we didn't say because everyone's been asking for the recording. Everyone will receive an email after this event. I think we should have said that at the beginning. Sorry about that, service design. You will be receiving an email with a summary with information. So don't worry about that. But if you do want more information about the course, please, with the QR code, which will also be in the email, go ahead and talk to someone. And you can have all your answers and all your questions answered through there. So thank you so much. For me, it's 3:30 in the morning. I think it's pretty late for some people here connected. So I think it's time to sign off. And I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much. I see a lot of familiar faces and I also see a lot of new faces. Christian Bertini, I saw you lived 10 years in Singapore. Please add me on LinkedIn and tell me what I should do because I have one day free here. So I need to know what I should be doing.
Crab meat and gardens by the sea.
I'm doing that tomorrow. So that's check, but then I'm not quite sure what else. So yes, so thank you so much everyone, and I hope to see you all as passengers aboard our Colectivo soon. Gracias, chao, chao.